Good morning. I actually have a video for us today. Just trying to pull it up.
Is this like when the teacher used to pull the TV into class on those days when we would get to watch a video instead of an actual lesson? That day that the space shuttle blew up, that wasn't such a good day for videos.
All right. So this will be some good perspective as we get into today's session. So
help mold my perspective on the world, and hopefully it'll give you something to take away as you go on to your next challenge. The first one is all about perspective and going after the things that you want. In Central Park, the New York Roadrunners Association hosts races on the
Yep, we lost sound. Chirag, we lost the sound. Can you hear us? Chirag.
The first one is all about perspective and going after the things that you want. In Central Park, the New York Roadrunners Association hosts races on the weekends. And one weekend, I ran a race with one of my friends. And at the end of the race, which they sometimes did, they had a sponsor who would give away something, apples or bagels or whatever it was. And on this particular day, they were giving away free bagels. So we'd finished the race, and you sort of can imagine the scene. It was cafeteria tables lined up next to each other with boxes of bagels across the cafeteria tables, a line of volunteers on one side of the table, and a much longer line of runners hoping to get a free bagel. So I said to my friend, "Let's get a bagel." And he looked at me and he said, "Nah, man, the line's too long." And I looked at him and I said, "It's a free bagel." And he said, "I don't want to stand in line." And I looked at him again. I said, "Free bagel." And that's when I realized there's two ways you can see the world. You can see the thing that you want, or you can see the thing that's standing in the way of the thing that you want. I could only see the bagels, and he could only see the line. And people who can see the bagel, people who can see the thing that they want, the things that are getting in the way are actually diminished in size. They're just obstacles to go over or around. It's an opportunity for invention or innovation. Whereas people who can only see the obstacle and literally lose sight of why they set out on the journey in the first place, they become stunted by fear or overwhelmed by the challenge ahead of them. So advice that I learned, piece number one, see the bagel. So a few years ago, I was watching
So as we talk about turning tenants into buyers, I want you guys to see the bagel, right? And a lot of our business is really about perspective, right? What is our perspective around the activities that we do every single day? And we're living in an instant gratification market. I want everyone to really sit down and think about what I'm saying. Instant gratification. But there's a whole bigger world. This cycle of this is not going to last forever. People have low inventory, so therefore people don't want to market. Why am I going to market? Nobody's going to move, which is an opportunity in itself, right? So remember, you can always see the bagel or you could always see the line. And I shared that with you guys today because it's very fitting where we are. As we're looking for more clients, do you see the bagel or do you see the line, right? So I want all of you guys to adopt that mindset into everything that you do. And really, the thing that I love most about this, it's a choice, right? It's a choice on what you get to choose to do, how you get to think about things, and ultimately the story that you attach to it. So how many people have you really thought and hit yes in this, have an actual plan on how to convert renters into buyers? Anybody? Okay, good. So then I'm going to give you a plan. I always love the silence because it reminds me of what it's like to close somebody, right, guys? So you see how there's that awkward silence right there? When you ask the question, provide the silence. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, everyone can see my screen, yes? All right, good. How to communicate with renters and turn them into buyers. You know, a lot of times, if you start really thinking about this, there's that old world mindset. They just rented a property. Maybe they want to buy in the future. I'll plan to follow up with them in 9 months. Now, to me, that sounds more like a thought than a plan, right? Versus this new world of everything being strategic and tactical, right? Are we tracking and storing all the information in our CRM so we have a strategic plan to follow up throughout their lease? We are all what I'd like to believe new world real estate agents. We are going to track everything. You know, and I can share this with you of my experience in working with a lot of leadership and Compass. When I originally got there and they want to track everything, and for the people that have been agents here for a while, you know what I'm talking about. But like the whole purpose of tracking everything is to make data-driven decisions, right? And if you look at great hotels, and I always go back to the Ritz-Carlton, they track every interactions they have with you because it's important to your process and your future visits. I want you to take that mindset and approach that now with tenants. So step number one, keep detailed notes in your Compass CRM. When you're working with a tenant, right, there are things that are important to them. Bedrooms, bathrooms, location, their work, their interests, preferred locations. There is a wealth of information that great agents collect up front to help people make their move, right? Of course, like without knowing what's important to somebody, how can you really sell anything to them, right? So for everyone, make your list of questions, right? But the other thing is a lot of times like this information lives in our head, Post-it notes, random notebooks, the notes section of our phone, and emails and text messages. This is not a plan. This is just operating in a reactionary method. So I want you to start keeping track. If you keep track of everything that a client tells you in the CRM, your CRM note section is no different than what you go to the front desk at the Ritz-Carlton. It is a screen that has all the details of your notes, your interactions, every request, the things they found out about you. And I want you to approach it in the same way, right? So that's the first step in doing this. The next step is ask clients their future real estate goals, right? Because when they're in the process, some people plan on being lifetime renters, but my experience in real estate, people don't want to do that forever, right? So if I was working with, who can I see in my screen? I can't see anybody in my screen today. I see a little box of Kathy. Kathy, how are you? Kathy's going to be my placebo client for the day. So if Kathy was moving into a rental, I'd want to ask her like, you know, how long do you plan on living here? right? And she could say a year, 2 years. And then I would start digging in deeper. It says, where would you like your next home to be? Were you thinking of purchasing? Are you continuing to renting? What's important to you about that? What made you stay here for this period of time? Really get to know somebody. Because if you don't know their future goals, how can you really create a future for them, right? So it's starting to think through this on more of a macro level versus the micro level. Too often we think transactionally, so therefore that's what we end up with, one transaction, right? Again, keep track of all of this information in your CRM. If it's not tracked, how likely are you to remember any of this months later when you follow up with them? And then that's why you don't want to follow up with them, right? Because you don't know what to say when you're trying to remember. And obviously, if it's in all these other areas, it doesn't come together the same way. So make sure you understand what their future real estate goals are. Step number 3, every promise is a task. And unless the task is associated with a date and a time, it's nothing but a dream or a future disappointing promise. Let me share more with that. I'm working with Kathy and I tell Kathy wants to know if these buildings have amenities. And I tell Kathy, no problem, I'll get you that tomorrow afternoon. What is afternoon to somebody? 12 o'clock is afternoon to me. So is 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. There's early afternoon, mid-afternoon, late afternoon. It is an undefined thing. So number 1, when you tell someone you're going to do something, get in the habit of taking out your phone, going into your CRM and hit task, right? And when you do that, make sure you write the task and you also put by 3 p.m. and then click the date and you hit save. That's it. So when you're done being in the field for the whole day, you can go back, you can open up your Compass account and you could just click tasks and it'll tell you all the tasks that you have to do that day, right? So if I tell Kathy I'm going to get it to her today by 6 p.m., I open my phone, I make a task of it, right? This is the actual workflow. I put by 6 p.m., I click today's date. When I go back to my office or I'm sitting even in my car waiting for another appointment, I could go to all those tasks and see what I have to do and I could start knocking them out. This is how you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. Because when your business is mobile, and you're tracking everything you do, you don't have to spend time looking for things, figuring out things to fill in time with. Everything is purposeful, right? And every time you complete a task, it shows it and it's crossed off. So you can see over time when you go back and I visit Kathy's profile in my CRM, I can see a bunch of the things I did for her, right? And it'll help jog my memory. Number 4, all the money's in the follow-up, right? They say it takes 7 times with an online lead to contact them before they'll consider working with you. So here's what I want you guys to do. After somebody moves, set a check-in. Again, this is a task, right? Or you could turn this into a CRM action plan. Whatever you choose to do, 2 words I want everyone to think about. How can we make it simple and how can we do it quickly? If you find yourself in more than a 5-minute conversation with a list of all these things to get started, you're doing this all wrong. Right? Because I can go in here and after Kathy moves, I could say, set a task, 30-day check-in, see how their move went. Check in 90 days after, ask if they'd like a collection to point for their future home, right? Like, so after the first 30 days, I'd want to reach out to Kathy and say, hey, just want to see how your move's going. How are you settling into the community? Is there any information or anything that you want to know about that you might not have thought about at the time move? Go to look to add value. Then at 90 days, right, you could say, hey, I know you had mentioned some of your future real estate needs were this. Would you like us to set you up on a collection where you could just kind of passively look at some homes in the areas that you like, whether it's renting or buying, just so you can have an idea of potentially what your future is and you don't feel really rushed for time. At 180 days, you can dig more into it. Like, have you guys really thought about what you're going to do in the next 6 months, right? So it becomes a lot more strategic. And then at that point, at the 180-day check-in, you could book out your next check-ins, your next steps. You could put them in touch with the lender, whatever you do based on the actual conversations. And every time that you talk to somebody, every lead that you have, every tenant that you have, every buyer you have, every seller, keep notes on everything. If you're talking on the phone, you can have AirPods and you can have your CRM open. If you're on a computer, you can have AirPods on and you can have your CRM open. Do you guys see the theme with this, right? There are so many opportunities, and I can't tell you how many agents tell me in coaching calls, I spent so much time helping that tenant and then just bought with somebody else. People don't know that you can help them buy. You're not in front of them. You don't think of that. They don't think of you. You're not adding value to the process. And you're not even at the very least checking in with them. For all they know, they think you only represent tenants. We as realtors presumably put a lot on our clients. It should be on us. It is our job to curate this experience for them. Now, is this simple to do? Absolutely. The only thing this takes is discipline. It's the discipline to not just have a conversation and to actually put the notes in and to set up a follow-up task. If you're following up with any leads, you should be following this workflow. This is it, guys, right here. This is where all the money is. So if we go back, right, these are really simple processes. Everything lives in your CRM, right? That is the hub of everything that you do. So if we're working with tenants, all the information from the beginning, put a date and all in the CRM. Likes, interests, like come up with a list of questions to ask, right? To really get to know somebody. Understand what their future goals are, right? Build that into your profile. Every promise is a task. People love to be followed up with and have things done in the time that they're promised. It is one of the things that clients appreciate the most. And it's also the number one complaint that they have, right? My agent didn't communicate with me. They said they were going to send something and they didn't. It's not that you didn't want to send it, you just forgot, or you wrote it down in a place that physically there's nothing to remind you. And remember, putting it all together, 30, 90, 180, right? Call and check in. If you don't know what to say, follow the Ford model. How's your family doing? How's work? What have you been doing for fun? Any big goals or dreams that you'd like to reach this year? Very, very simple. And this all doesn't take a lot of time to do. Step 5, remember the fundamentals, right? Like we talked about where the hub is. It's in your CRM, interactions, tasks, notes, and also start following your clients on social media and engage with them. If you see things like, right, depending generationally where they are, depending if they're more millennials, their younger generation will be on Instagram, the older generation will be on Facebook. But if you start following them and seeing what they did, commenting, engaging with them, or if something really great happened in their life, reach out to congratulate them. This is the essence of building a human relationship, and this is free. We all spend so much time and energy on new and more as opposed to going deeper on what we already have. Also, add them to your holiday card list and distribution list, right? Like make them part of your world. So many people just send holiday cards out to just the people that bought and sold with them. What about the tenants? So I want you guys to be able to think of this more on a macro level. And the big picture, and I want everyone to write this down, is what is your end-to-end client experience? Like, what is it? Like, you want to be able to map out what this is and look at it as a whole, as opposed to just these little pieces, right? So the end-to-end experience, I could say this, an end-to-end experience, if a tenant comes in, I'm going to take the time to understand everything that's important to them, from the place that they work to the place they want to live, to the bedrooms, bathrooms, amenities, down to their gym and favorite restaurants, so I can find the perfect place for them. I'm going to curate what all that stuff is, and I'm going to have a deep understanding of how long they want to be somewhere, what their future real estate goals are, and that my culture and my standard is that every 30, 90, 180 days, at least once a quarter, that the people that have rented a home from me will hear from me, and I will continue to add value. I'll make sure that 6 months in advance that I'm helping them be prepared to make their next move so they don't ever feel rushed and that they don't get stuck renting again because of the lack of planning when they could be buyers. That's an end-to-end experience, right? That is cultivating it from start to finish with all the touch points planned out. You do the hard work once, you make a checklist, and voila. You now have a system to convert tenants to buyers. So I wanted to make sure that as in a couple of the last sessions, we had a lot of questions. So I'm working on keeping more time in the end for open Q&A. Now, I just want everyone to be mindful of this. If you have questions, make sure to ask questions that everyone can benefit from, right? So if you have something that's very specific to a very situation, you can put it in the chat box. But what questions do you guys have about converting tenants to buyers, getting the most out of your CRM, which is free, and following these simple steps to make sure that you convert everything that you should?
I have a question.
Okay, who's that?
Andrea Giordano.
Oh, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So, quick question. What happens when a tenant says to you, you know what, I think we want to rent for another year. Thanks anyway, we'll be in touch. What do you do with that?
Are they re-renting their current lease?
They're looking to see what they can get there in the city.
Times like this, I should keep the Jeopardy music more handy. All right, we'll wait for Andrew.
Lost sound, I think.
I have a feeling she's probably calling in from her car.
Ah.
Anybody else?
Wait, did you? Oh, you didn't hear me? I'm sorry.
So they said that so you followed up with them and you had told them, hey, you know, want to see what you're looking to do. They said that they're going to rent another year and be in touch.
Right, because they're living in the city and deals are so good right now, they decided maybe to stay in the city another year and maybe save more money.
Great. I completely appreciate that. I will just, you know, and I'm sure, have these people shared with you where they're looking to potentially move out in Long Island?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I would say that, look, I'll keep our collection updated. I'll just keep putting notes on the market so you guys could track it for the next year and say, let me know how I can continue to be helpful. And then follow up within 90 days, just saying, hey, how's everything going? So on and so forth, right? Look, if they say they're going to be in touch, don't wait for them to call you, right? Go follow them on social media, find a reason to contact them, right? And if I much rather have every person say these, I've had 100 people tell me that to stop calling them, that this is annoying, but if you're contacting them genuinely to connect with them and just have a conversation to keep your relationship going, most people are open and receptive to that. Right? And the people that are not open and receptive to that, ask yourself, do these people meet your standards as clients? Right? It's a whole different concept. So I hope that was helpful. Anybody else?
Hey, it's Allie. I have a question.
I have a question.
Allie's first, and then whoever was
I
next.
think it was Marina was next.
Okay.
So say you've been bad at following up with people in the past, and it's been like years since you've checked in with them. Is it too late to reach out now? And if it's not, what's a good way to just reach out of the blue for no
Well, one,
reason?
you seem like you have a very nice, warm personality, right? So people can be happy to hear from you. Number two, I call those clients the orphan clients, right? And the nice part, one of the few nice things about the pandemic and COVID, yes, Diane says BombBomb's great. If you haven't checked out BombBomb, it's like a little video service that you could put right into your email. So look into that. But look, if I hadn't talked to you in years and I wanted to, you could say, you know, Allie, how are you? And they'll remember you, right? Because you got to remember, they don't know that you're supposed to stay in touch with them, right? That's like kind of like what we think in our head. And the second part of it is, you know, with everything that's going on, one of the things I wanted to do was be in better contact with people that I've worked with and just check in and say, how's everything going, right? And just saying, where are you? And then just make it, you could follow the Ford model, right? Family, occupation, or just have a genuine thing. And you should just show up to the conversation with just curiosity. That should be the only agenda, right? So now, like these people who you haven't talked to, now they've been reactivated. So now they're more likely to want to hear from you again, and you've restarted the relationship. So for everyone that's like Allie, which is probably all of us that have orphan clients, please make sure to reach out to them, because if there wasn't COVID, there would not be the same opportunity, right? And the difference is every person now, because we don't see or are around as many people as we're used to being, are very open to talking to people that they don't see every day, right? Like, I love my wife, I love my kids, and I love all of you, but I like having interactions too with people I don't normally talk to, right? It's a different conversation. So that is what I would suggest doing with those people. Is that simple enough for you? Yes? No?
Sorry, I muted myself, but yes.
Okay. I think Marina said she has to go if she's not here. Okay. Anybody else? We have time for one more question. All right, guys, look, here's my last thought. Ask yourself, if you don't own a pair of AirPods or a headset, go buy one. And number two, make a note that's in front of your desk that writes down, I must track and log every conversation in my CRM. Like, have it as a constant reminder. You guys have to remember one thing. And some of you have heard me say this about the story of Zillow. The reason Zillow won in this whole space and they got there is they've always been one step ahead of giving the customers what they wanted, right? Like, customers wanted full transparency to properties. Zillow brought that forward. The next thing is people always wondered what the value of their home was. As agents, we don't follow up with people. People, of course, they buy stocks. They want to know, like, a stock ticker, right? So then they offered this estimate. Then people wanted to know, like, what agents were good, like reviews. They created a review platform, right? You kind of see where all this is going. Now, sometimes people don't want to sell without a realtor, so they offered like this iBuying program. So they're constantly innovating, but they are open to hearing what people want and giving that to them, right? And the only thing that you guys have left that this industry is not cannibalized is the relationships you have with your clients. But if you don't remember to contact them, you don't take detailed notes and everything, how meaningful are these interactions going to be? Because you guys have to start thinking about that macro, like I was talking about, in the future and the perspective. You have AI robots that could find out just about anything that you want. And it's a matter of time till people start giving them that information. So this human contact that we have with people is the most valuable resource that we have. It is the future of our business, our income, and how we support all our families, right? So make sure to treat every conversation with that care and that mindset. And every detail somebody tells you is important, right? Whether it's today, tomorrow, a year from now. Start keeping track of your databases like it's your most valuable thing. And by the way, one day we will talk about what you need to do to prepare your business to sell it one day. But your database is what you're selling. If it's a bunch of names with no notes, no information, no lifetime value of a customer, how many times they've transacted with you, how many referrals people have sent with you, what are you really giving somebody? How valuable really is it to you? So I leave you with that thought. And if you guys all haven't, check out BombBomb. Diane's been using it. I use it. There's a handful of other us that use it and have all gotten great results. So go out today, make a difference, and think about who can you deepen your relationship with and connect with today. We will see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.